Every now and then, it's sometimes nice to go back to the past and find some of those old relics that are just sitting on your shelf gathering dust. And you think to yourself, I never beat this when I was a kid, but now that I'm older and don't suck at games anymore, let's see if I can beat this. Hey guys, it's Jim from Nebcam Gaming, and in today's video I want to talk about Sphinx and the Cursed Mummy, a game completely centered around ancient Egyptian mythology, an era in our history that I find very fascinating. Like, who built the pyramids? Of course it was aliens. Who else could it be, guys? Seriously. Sphinx and the Cursed Mummy, for as good as it is, it didn't sell well, so a sequel was never brought to light, unfortunately. However, we have gotten a Steam port and Switch port in recent years, which is really cool, but I went back to the original hardware and played it on the PlayStation 2 for this video. So the game opens up, and this character here named Imhotep is a fictional version of a real-life Egyptian chancellor, not to be confused with the Brendan Fraser mummy movie. Imhotep! Giving our main character Sphinx and his other apprentice Horus instructions on how to recover the Blade of Osiris, a powerful weapon located in the lands of Uruk. So this opening stage serves as the game's tutorial, familiarising the player with the mechanics and the controls, and while we're on the subject of controls for a second, let's talk about them. For as much as this was revolutionary for my younger brain, the controls don't hold up very well in some aspects. So there are two playable characters in Sphinx and the Cursed Mummy, the main protagonist Sphinx and the Mummy, who also happens to be a fictional version of Tutankhamun. Sphinx is the character you'll be playing as the most, but when it comes to the combat, it's very basic. You want to get like 3 sword swings, you can't move while you're blocking, and it can be a little awkward to maneuver around enemies. What could have been a nice little addition is if the game added something like a dodge button or a parry, to make the combat feel a bit more fluid and a bit more balanced. But with what we have here, you quickly get used to it. Now, some people could make the argument that it's an old game, so maybe dodge mechanics weren't exactly a thing back then, which I'd have to disagree with, because games like Ratchet & Clank 2 came out the exact same year as this game, 2003, and Ratchet & Clank 2 had a strafe mechanic feature which helped in combat encounters, so maybe Sphinx could have benefited from something like this, a dodge, a roll, anything just to help you maneuver around the enemies a little bit, but again, you do quickly get used to it. It's just a little bit awkward to begin with. My main issue with the controls is the wonky camera and really floaty jumps in places. Sometimes it's super easy to miss the mark on a jump by a few centimeters, which really got annoying after a while. Like, sometimes missing a jump didn't even feel like my fault. And again, it's something that you get used to very quickly, but I guess with this generation of gaming, we're spoilt with so much more refined controls now, and not spoilt in the way that I'd like. As the game goes on, Sphinx will unlock more abilities like a double jump, swim faster, the shield of Osiris, and the blowpipe. So the game has a certain level of satisfaction when you unlock something, which then allows you to do something that you couldn't do before. Like, you couldn't get up a ledge before, now you have a double jump, now you can get up that ledge. You had to swim through this cave, but you couldn't because you were too slow at one point, now you can swim fast. Stuff like that. But the Mummy, on the other hand, is completely different and has a much bigger emphasis on puzzle solving and platforming. Since the Mummy is already dead, it can harness different abilities like getting caught on fire, zap with electric, getting flattened so it can squeeze through gaps in fences, the ability to turn into this bat thing for some reason, get split into 3, swapping between them during gameplay. These are really cool additions. And the puzzles, I'll be honest, are some of the best puzzle solving in games that I've ever seen. A lot of the time when puzzles get too complicated, I play them for about 10 minutes and go, fuck this, give up and go on YouTube to find out how to do said puzzle. During my time with Sphinx and the Cursed Mummy, I was determined to do every puzzle without a guide, because they are just so satisfying to figure out. And when you do conquer them, you walk away feeling like an absolute champ, chanting, "I'm smarter than you, game." And the way the Mummy just walks away after figuring out one of these puzzles is exactly how you feel. And then you walk off feeling satisfied that your ego has been stretched, but unfortunately not your butt cheeks. And then the Mummy dies. This game really utilises the Mummy's abilities into the level design and puzzle solving really well. Both playstyles with Sphinx and the Mummy are different, which keeps the gameplay feeling fresh and breaks up some of the pacing. But let's talk about the story for a second. While I did like it, some of the dialogue choices are really goofy in places, like bosses doing the generic "prepare to die" cliche line and stuff like that. But I think it's made up by its uniqueness of not having any voice acting. Instead, you read subtitles, and to tell who's talking, they give the characters these really over-the-top body expressions so you can tell who's talking. It's really goofy, but really unique and fun. Sphinx and the Mummy, on the other hand, don't talk at all. They're both silent protagonists, but I think if voice acting was included in this game, it would lose a lot of its personality and flavour. While the story isn't the best thing in the world, the game's cast of quirky and exaggerated characters and some of their designs are what keep the game feeling unique and interesting. There are some things I want to point out about the story that I think completely suck, such as characters being introduced, given a bit of characterization, and then completely leave the story with no notice whatsoever. The first character is Nefertiti, not to be confused with Rachel Weisz's character in the Mummy films, or her reincarnated character, should I say. Yes, that scene had no relevance, I just wanted to include it because I like that scene. for obvious reasons. Anyway, I'm not exactly sure who Nefertiti was in Egyptian history, but in this game she's Tutankhamun's bride-to-be, and she shows up in the first mission where you play as Prince Tut, and the mission after where you play as Sphinx infiltrating the mysterious location, and once transports Nefertiti out of there, she's never seen again. Now the next character is Horus. This was a little more disappointing to me, as Horus at the start of the game is established as a character whose jealousy is consuming him because of Sphinx proving a far more worthy apprentice to Imhotep than him. He's portrayed as this cocky, egotistical prick that eventually betrays Sphinx by giving him this invisibility stone, which if Sphinx uses it, it could kill him. Yeah, and that's because birds are cunts, that's why. Which is why it's sent over to Prince Tut instead, because he's already dead. Horus was interesting to me, and after he gives Sphinx that stone, he's never seen again, bar from one cutscene where you play as the mummy. Okay, so let's do a quick rewrite of this part of the game. In the mission where you face off against the Pharaoh in the Cursed Palace, instead of the Pharaoh turning into this monster thing and giving us a crappy, underwhelming boss fight, oh don't worry, I'll get to them. Make Horus the boss fight. In the actual game, the Pharaoh runs away with the crown that's needed to progress, because he wants to give it to Lord Set. Then turns into this mutant thing for some reason, but I think it would be better if the Pharaoh runs away with the crown, Sphinx chases him, only for Horus to come out of nowhere, murder the Pharaoh, and take the crown for himself to give it to Lord Set. Horus gives this speech about how he hates Sphinx and is tired of living in his shadow, and then have Horus be the boss fight. But instead, Horus just vanishes from the story and we never see him again, which I really don't understand. This part actually bugs me. So while we're on the topic of boss fights, let's talk about them. The bosses in Sphinx and the Cursed Mummy are really bad in my opinion. They're really easy and are only made slightly annoying by the controls in places. The second boss, for example, against the Geb Queen, you're supposed to get these spider things to bring down her shield before you can strike, and they do it when they feel like it. So it drags the fight out. It's not hard, it's just boring. The battle against the Pharaoh is lame. All you do is throw rocks at him, he goes down, slash, rinse and repeat. Even the final boss, Lord Set, is probably one of the easiest bosses that I've ever fought. Jump over some obstacles, slash him, rinse and repeat. So yeah, the bosses are kinda lame in my opinion. Where Sphinx and the Cursed Mummy thrives the most is in its puzzle solving and platforming. With tighter controls, this could have been near enough perfect. But before I wrap this up, I want to talk about this game's crappy ending. And I mean, this ending is absolute ass. So at the end, Sphinx and the Cursed Mummy are finally together, and when the last magical vase is given to the mummy, the vase containing his soul, the very thing to turn him back into human, the mummy pulls some kind of Looney Tunes shit and accidentally breaks it, and then the game ends. What the fuck?
Is that it?
One more thing!
Overall guys, Sphinx and the Cursed Mummy was a blessing to beat for the first time. Capturing monsters for the museum, puzzle solving for the castle of Uruk, finding different entrances in and out of the Heliopolis point, accessing shortcuts, mini games to break up the pacing of the story. Sphinx has everything that I like in a game like this. It can feel a bit tedious since pretty much all of it is find this item which will help you get up that ledge or open this door which you couldn't open before, but the game has a lot of charm to it, so you can push past some of this stuff. I remember as a kid I couldn't figure out what to do, so I just continuously run around the Heliopolis point, getting lost, just like how the MCU is lost in how to make good films anymore. I remember restarting the game from the beginning a lot, getting to Heliopolis and never getting any further, until now. This game was an absolute treasure to revisit, and since it didn't sell well, we never got a sequel. But I think with today's technology and how far gaming has come, a reboot would be a great idea. Hey, another video idea for future? Probably, maybe. Actually, screw it. But with the ending of this game, it's clear a sequel was in mind, but it never happened, which is a shame. But in a time where characters like Crash, Spyro, and even Bubsy have returned from like a long hiatus and brought back into the spotlight, maybe Sphinx can too. And that is it guys, Sphinx and the Cursed Mummy. Let me know what you think of this game down below in the comments. Do you love it? Do you hate it? As always, thank you very much for watching. If you like what we're doing here over on Nebcam Gaming, drop us a like and subscribe to the channel. I've been Jim, and I'm out. Take care.